Hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another crush course at Vino Shipper. This one I am very, very, very excited about because we have Nat Gunter in the house, and he runs a company called Wordshop. And Wordshop helps brands to send better emails, I think is the shortest way to say it. We're going to let some people filter in. It looks like we've got a lot of people already in the room. So hi, welcome everybody. So happy everybody can be here. I usually think we have to wait a couple minutes, but it looks like we've got a lot of people in the room already. So I say, hey, let's get started. Let's talk to you, Nat. Let's tell me about like, who are you? What do you do? What are you doing? Tell me about Tell us about you.
Sure. Um, my name is Nat Gunter. My company, a company of one, is called Wordshop, and I sort of formally got into the wine business in the early 2000s in Los Angeles, California, working in a hotel restaurant there, and moved to the Napa Valley for the 2009 harvest. Stayed there through the 2009, 10, and 11 vintages. Napa is where I met my wife, and we moved from Napa to Charleston, South Carolina in 2012. And I've been really fortunate to remain in the wine business, really on the supplier side, doing all sorts of things, but predominantly sales and marketing, predominantly on the DTC side, predominantly on the digital part of the DTC side. In those intervening years, had a chance to work with a lot of really talented, generous, and insightful people, and yeah, have been working for myself and with lots of different wineries over the last 2.5, 3 years, under the Word Shop shingle.
Awesome. I'm so thrilled that we can have you here today, and I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to our Vino Shipper clients. We do have with Vino Shipper integration with Mailchimp, which is really awesome because it lets information about customers in Vino Shipper flow into a Mailchimp account. And I think that a lot of people are taking advantage of it. But what I find and what I hear from clients is that they don't really know, they know to send an email here and there, but don't really know a lot about mapping a customer journey or about automations, how to set those up. What does that look like for a small brand? So I'm excited that you're here to kind of dive into that and go over that for people today. Format wise, I just want to let everybody know Paul's going to be monitoring the chat. And so if you want to pop your questions in there, we will take little pauses through the webinar and address some of the questions. And then at the end, we'll have a more complete Q&A. So go ahead and throw your questions in when you want, or wait till the end. But we will have time for Q&A. I know there's going to be some really interesting questions that people come up with along the way. So that's the format for Crush Course, and let's take it away. Let's tell us everything. We want to know everything, Nat.
I'll tell you everything.
Ah,
I'm really passionate about helping wineries send better emails because it is, and probably will continue to be the most important method of communication. So we're going to dive into nominally Mailchimp automations for Vino shipper clients. But what I'd love to do to begin is just kind of get first things first and preach the the gospel of email
ah,
marketing. The first thing for me is to understand that an email address is your single most valuable piece of marketing data. You work hard to earn those email addresses and hopefully the first and last name and date of birth and shipping and billing information that sometimes come with them. But that email address is so valuable. The return on an email address relative to what you spend on email marketing leads all the marketing channels. And insofar as they remain subscribed to your list, that email address is yours. It's not a screen name on a social media platform owned by another company. They've agreed to give you their email. And so you have this direct line of communication with them, either through this rectangle on your desk or through the trusty rectangle we carry with us in our pocket that pings and buzzes us all the time. Email, understanding that an email address is your most valuable asset, I think when it comes to email marketing, there's an important shift in understanding. And when I see this shift happen with clients, it really unlocks a lot of other positive developments for their wineries. And that is the understanding that email is a behavioral trigger and email is not a communication tool. So if you email me to ask me something personally, sure, that's a communication tool. But when we come up with an email to send out to your mailing list, the goal isn't to communicate. The goal is to trigger a specific behavior. And you really want to think about email from that point of view. What behavior in your customer or potential customer or list member are you trying to trigger? And work backwards from that in who you send the email to, where, when you send it, and how that email looks. And then I want to lay out for
Mind
me,
blowing. I just want to throw out that I think that's kind of a revolutionary way to think about it, because I think what we have been told for so long is that email is communication. Email is communication, like communicate with your customers. And the idea that it's a communication that has a behavior tied to it is, I do think, a brilliant way to explain it to people. And it does require a little bit of a mind shift, because then everything you're putting into that email is now with intention. That's a requirement. I think that's brilliant.
amen, amen. And it's even more powerful when you can match that behavior to one of your winery's specific business objectives. The most popular specific business objective for a winery is usually to sell wine. And so the customer behavior you would want to trigger would be to buy wine. There are other business objectives. You may want visitors to your winery or tasting room. You may want uh, people to join an allocation or membership or club. You may want people to attend an event somewhere out in the country if you're on the road. So there's lots of behaviors you might want them to take. But let's look at my sort of, I don't know where I didn't make this up. This exists in the world of marketing. Behavior equals motivation plus ability plus a trigger. And so I just want to spell that out for everyone here. If the behavior you want to trigger is for someone to buy your wine, then you understand their motivation is they joined your mailing list. No, that's not an intent to purchase, but it does mean they're motivated to hear from you and to potentially purchase. Ability, they have money that they can spend on wine and potentially taxes and shipping to get the wine from your winery or fulfillment house to their home. The trigger is the email, and that's how these things line up to get the customer behavior you want and to get that customer behavior to help achieve the specific business objective you have. So, sort of with that out of the way, with the scales falling from our eyes and we're ready to learn. Now let's move into what I view as the problem. I've worked in cellars, I've traveled and done trade sales, I've created physical content, digital content. Um, I love fine wine. I love how personal it is. I love how deeply felt and passionate. I love the almost the punishment people are willing to endure in pursuit of making wine. Um, it is it is hard work, and almost nothing we do in fine wine is scalable. And I'm positioning that as the problem here. That's also kind of the point. That's also the point of fine wine. It isn't scalable, but we only have so many people and we only have so many hours in a day. So for me, in email and in automated email specifically, it's one thing. It's one thing we can do that's scalable. It's one thing that's worth the investment in time to set up and make sure it's right so that if you're sleeping, or if you're out to dinner with clients, or if you're racking a new vintage to barrel, or if you're doing any number of things that place a significant demand on your time to create the kind of wines and brand you want to create, that something's working for you in the background. And that's really how I view automated emails sort of writ large, the big umbrella of automated emails. You need something that's scalable, something that works for you and for your winery when you're doing other things.
Totally.
We'll define automations as automations in this context are emails that are sent automatically to a recipient based on an action they took on your website, at your winery, or an event. They are created once and they're sent potentially an infinite number of times. And let's talk about some of the customer actions that they might take. A customer might join your mailing list. They might purchase wine either in your tasting room, from your website, or at an event. On your website, they might almost purchase wine and then stop or get distracted or put their phone back in their pocket. They may book a tasting online, or they may join your wine club or your membership program. And so how those actions turn into automations is someone joins your mailing list, they receive a welcome email. Someone purchases wine, they receive an order confirmation. Someone almost purchases wine, they get an abandoned cart automated email. Someone books a tasting, a reservation confirmation. Someone joins your club, they get a welcome to the club. This is one action triggers one email that happens automatically. Some of these can happen in your VinoShipper account. The order confirmation email and the club confirmation email being the two that really stick out in my mind.
Mhm.
Other emails here, welcome email, abandoned cart, are going to live in your Mailchimp platform, in your email service platform. So some VinoShipper has set up for you, and we're going to go over one and talk about a simple way to sort of optimize that in VinoShipper, and then we're going to spend most of our time in Mailchimp. Now, beyond automations is something called journeys. Some people say sequences, some people say drips, some people say flows. Journeys is the word I use. Journeys are, simply put, a sequence of automated emails that are sent to a recipient automatically over time based on an action they took on your website, winery, or at an event. Again, created once with conditions applied to them and sent an infinite number of times. So again, this is something that's working for you automatically in the background. Some examples of journeys where you string together automated emails would be a welcome journey, which is sent in multiple emails over time to new mailing list members. A post-purchase journey, which would begin with someone's order confirmation email, but then over time would move into Mailchimp, and you could send them more information about your winery that's evergreen, more broadly messaged, and sent over time. An abandoned cart journey is used by many brands, less so in the wine space. But I'm sure if you've, left a pair of khakis in your J. Crew cart, oh, these khakis keep following me around. And if you just wait, somebody's going to give you 60% off. So you just suffer through, 10 days and 6 different abandoned cart emails until you finally get that price. I have never set up an abandoned cart journey for a winery client because they've asked me not to. I'm not sort of for or against it. Everybody has different considerations. But if you would like to really chase down those almost purchasers, there's a way to do it with multiple emails in a journey format rather than a single abandoned cart automated email. And then
And
finally,
sorry, just real quick, actually, two of the questions that we've had come in are regarding that abandoned cart. One for Ivy and one for Shimei. Were Do abandoned cart emails work for all website visitors who add to cart, or only in customers who are either logged in or have previously purchased? And also, do they have to be subscribed to a Mailchimp list to be able to receive the abandoned cart emails? Follow up to that would be adding in some items on that abandoned cart email. Would you be able to touch on that just a little bit?
yeah, happy to touch on both. And we're going to actually show, not out, you won't even have to listen to me talk about it. We're going to show it. Um,
Great.
Tara Jane has given me access to the Rondur Wines website, Arthur and Ellen's winery. And so I've been fooling around in his VinoShipper and Mailchimp accounts for lack of a better phrase. and I set up an abandoned cart email, automated email for Rondier Wines. And then I visited the Rondier Wines website, which actually does not have an email capture, a join our mailing list, which I'm going to talk to Arthur about later. And we're going to get that set up with a welcome journey. But I put a bottle of San Giacomo Vineyard Pinot Noir and a bottle of Russian River Valley Pinot Noir in my cart. I did enter my information. Without having entered in my email address, I could not receive an abandoned cart email, but I did get that far. I told them I live in South Carolina. I entered my name, date of birth, all those things, and then I left. And 1 hour later, which is when I had set it for, I received the abandoned cart email to me. I'm not a member of their mailing list. And it did have the two products in the email. I chose not to display the price, but Mailchimp has it where you can display the price. So we will show that. And so it provided the almost customer, let's call them the abandoning customer, gets far enough into the cart where they enter in their email address. Mailchimp will send that abandoned cart email automatically when you've programmed it to, even if they're not a mailing list member. They assume that you have opted into at least that abandoned cart email automation. So if you do one thing after you watch this webinar, please go set up an abandoned cart automated email. Now,
Great timing.
now we're going to do that. Okay. So
Yeah.
we're going to do this on behalf of Rondier Wines. Here's their Vino Shipper account, and here's their Mailchimp account. And I will try and do this slowly. So we're going to, on their homepage, we're going to come over to automations. We're going to move into their, I'm going to move this little screen so I can see it. I'm going to dismiss all of this stuff. Now, Mailchimp is going to show a bunch of things to you, suggested things. Some of these only work with certain types of stores and maybe not with your Vino shipper. So I like to choose the build from scratch option. You can see that I set these two up. What was that? 2 days ago, a birthday and an abandoned cart. I labeled them very simply. So we're going to click build from scratch. We're going to call this, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to name the journey, what the journey is, abandoned cart. And you see they select journey because in Mailchimp's view, somebody has to enter the journey based on a condition, and then they will send the email. So even if it's just one email, Mailchimp still calls it a journey here. So we'll choose a starting point. And then we're offered abandons cart. Reunite a shopper with stuff they forgot to buy. Okay. It's going to prompt us to select our store. Everyone's going to, on this webinar, is going to select Vino Shipper. And on Arthur and Ellen's website, they have two products for sale. I am not going to choose specific products, which you can. You can include and exclude products here if your store is integrated. I'm going to choose any product, and we can set it. I would not set your abandoned cart for more than 6 hours after the cart has been abandoned. That would be sort of the softest, most hands-off time frame I would choose. Definitely don't wait a day. Let's leave this at 1 hour. Okay. And I think that's all we need. I got Vino Shipper. Okay. And we'll click. I actually don't know why it's not allowing me to save the starting point, but maybe it's because I've already made one. So we'll save this starting point. I'll go to the other journey, the actual abandoned cart journey now to show you what that looks like. Okay, so let's click here to look at this journey. So what starts the journey in Mailchimp is that the contact abandons the cart in VinoShipper. And 1 hour later, what you're going to do is send them an email. So you'll click an action here, and it's going to allow that. I'm going to pause and edit so we can show you. If you need to make changes to your journey, you will have to, if it's turned on, you'll have to pause it because it can't run something while you're changing it. You have to pause it, implement your changes, and then turn it back on. So what you'll do is you'll add a journey step. You'll click here and you'll scroll down to send an email. So that's what that's going to do. And it's going to prompt you to a screen that looks like this. So it's going to go to their email address. You want to make sure it's from the right name, Rondier Wines, and you want to make sure the from email address is correct, Arthur@Rondier Wines. You'll click save. The subject, I love writing email subject lines. It is the most important marketing text you could ever write on behalf of your winery are your email subject lines. The goal of an email subject line is not to describe what's in the email. The goal is to get people to open the email. Everything is a behavioral trigger. So we want to use phrasing like your cart expires soon, or this wine might sell out, or would you like to adjust your order? Or don't worry, we're holding on to your wine. Use some sort of language that isn't descriptive, but does try and either create a sense of urgency, prey on a sense of fear of missing out, of FOMO. So you want to choose a subject line, and you can, gosh, you could use, Intuit has AI built into this. You could just Google best subject lines for abandoned carts. There's all sorts of ideas all over the internet. So this abandoned cart email, the subject is your cart expires soon, and preview. We saved the Pinot Noir you set aside. It's just a click away. I can say that because Arthur only bottles and sells 2 Pinot Noirs, so I'm not in danger of describing the wrong wine in the preview text. So you'll fill in the subject line. I like to keep it below 35 characters, including spaces. You'll fill in a preview text. And now we're ready to design our actual email. So you'll come over here. Well, actually, let's start here. We want the schedule to say every day as soon as possible. So this automation is running and it's sending 1 hour after someone abandons their cart. And then we'll click into edit email content. Everything I'm going to show you from this point on is predicated on a very simple 1-column template that I created for Rondier. It's something I've done for a lot of wineries. It is worth the time to just make a simple template that you can build all of your winery marketing emails from moving forward. It saves you time. It also creates visual consistency so that if you have maybe 1 or more members on your team, or a team member changes and the responsibilities for email marketing changes, that the look and feel of your email isn't going to change. And it also conditions your audience for visual sort of aesthetic consistency. Emails from Rondier look like this. So this is a familiar look. I'm used to this. And I tried to the best of my ability to make this template look like Arthur and Ellen's website, so that the transition from email inbox or from mobile device to the website is visually not jarring, but rather visually smooth. So brand name at the top, an image of 2 people and 2 bottles of wine that came from their website, and then a little headline, decisions, decisions. So I'm sort of implying that you're pondering something. I wrote, not to worry, we've saved the wine you placed in your cart. Click on the bottle below to complete your checkout. If you have any questions, simply reply to this email and we'll answer them. Thank you for your support. Now, what you're going to do here, if you build this email from scratch, you see this cart button. If you're in the new builder, Tara Jane, I think it's over on the left, like vertically. I'm in the old builder, but you're literally going to drag, we'll do it again. We'll drag our cart into here so you can see it, okay? Now it's going to allow me to choose between 1, 2, or 3 products. Right now, Arthur does have 3 wines for sale on his website, so I chose 3. Obviously, if you have 3 or more products, I would choose 3. If not, I would choose 2 or 1. Also, a consideration is if you sell wine in a time-limited offer window, you may want to make sure that you limit the products you're selling in your abandoned cart to that time-limited offer window. And you make sure that you turn off that abandoned cart so that if there's a hard stop on your offer, someone's not getting an abandoned cart 55 minutes after your offer has closed, and then they're ushered to a site where the wine is no longer for sale. So you do want to make sure it agrees. In this content section, you can choose between 1, 2, or 3 products, and you can choose to include the price or not include the price. And then you can hover over to style, which I encourage you to do. I just chose the Times New Roman font. I chose to make it not bold, and aligned it to the left and clicked save and close. So there we have it. And once you have created your message and added your cart and got it to look the way you want to look, you're going to come up here and click save and return to journey. And you're going to see that your journey begins when someone enters it by abandoning their cart, and that 1 hour later they get sent an email, and you're going to turn on your journey, or in this case, we're going to turn back on the journey. And we will save and close. So if you have not done that, please do that. An abandoned cart email is tremendously valuable in that it can go back and get sales from people who you don't know when someone's in your store and when someone's abandoning your cart, and gosh, you can't keep up with everyone who abandons it. There are a lot of platforms that have abandoned carts, but you have to send them manually, which means every day you've got to check and you've got to send. And certainly you couldn't send it within an hour or within 2 hours of that cart being abandoned unless you just happen to check your e-commerce platform within 2 hours of that person abandoning their cart.
Unlikely.
Yes, unlikely. So that is an abandoned cart. Before I move on, are there any abandoned cart questions that I should address?
Yeah, just one coming from Jessica. So are the products shown the ones that they actually had in their cart automatically? Or is that
Yes.
customized?
Yeah, where did I will pull this up. So this is the email that came to me when I put the Pinot Noir San Giacomo Vineyard and Pinot Noir Russian River in my cart.
We can't see it.
Oh gosh.
You're not sharing the whole screen.
Yeah, let me share my whole screen.
I think you have to
One second,
unshare and
everyone.
then share again. Yeah.
Yes, unshare and share again. Yes. Okay, my whole desktop. Okay, everyone. Sorry. Here we are. Here's a screenshot. Can everyone see that now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, great. So this is a real abandoned cart email that I was sent one after I abandoned my cart on the Rondier website. There's the beautiful PNG product bottle shots from the 21 vintage, and it populated the product name as entered into Vino Shipper, with the bottle shot as entered into Vino Shipper. As mentioned, I did not include price, but its default is to do that, and you can do that.
That's great.
So that's what that looks like. I also, for what it's worth, I have never met Arthur or Ellen, but I did spend a little time on their website, and it seems, first of all, I loved my time on their website. It seems, it's clear to me that it's, deeply personal and a labor of love, and I know that's true for many of you listening. And so I know that the trigger here is to get people to buy. And one way to get people to buy is to remind them that there are real people behind these wines. And there are real people who love each other, who love wine, who love art. So maybe just this image in the email puts someone at ease. It's a pleasant reminder rather than just copy and just a product to buy. So it's something to think about.
It's a beautiful way to say it. Yeah.
So if you do one thing, set up an abandoned cart email. If you do two things, let's set up a birthday email.
Yes,
We're in the wine business. People need to give you, hopefully, an actual real date of birth in order for you to be in compliance when you sell and ship them wine. So unlike a lot of other products in the consumer packaging world, we have their birthday. And who doesn't like a birthday message?
I
And
love a birthday message myself.
right, and who doesn't like a birthday message that that can send every day, all day, no matter what? So we are going to go look at Ronjur's new birthday email automation. And we're going to look at who can enter. Oh, I have to pause it to make my edits. That's right. So what we're choosing as our starting point for a birthday, and this is one of the, maybe I should actually back out and let's do a new one just so you can see what it looks like to start this. So again, we're going to build from scratch. I'm going to call it birthday. And lo and behold, Mailchimp helps us out. Send a special discount, offer a free gift, or just say happy birthday. Yes, how great. Okay, so what they're going to prompt you to do is days before date, max 90 days. You can send, what this allows you to do is like sneak in before their birthday. I happen to be married to somebody who's kind of particular about her birthday. Maybe some of us have different anxieties around the day, not the age, but just the day and the attention. And so maybe you want to wish them a happy early birthday, like 3 to 5 days earlier. Just, hey, sneaking into your inbox to say happy birthday. This allows you to do that up to 90 days in advance. But what you can do here is select 1 day before date, and then birthday date field, and then save your starting point. Now, if you want to wish them a happy birthday on their birthday, you're going to add a journey step. You're going to create a time delay. You're going to create a time delay of 1 day, 1 days, and click save. And then you're going to add a journey step, and you're going to send an email. And this is the email that's going to have your birthday email. So we're going to go look at this birthday email now that we know how to set it up. I'm going to pause. Okay. Again, we want to start with the to and from. Is it coming from Ron Deere Wines? Is the from email address Arthur? Yes. Okay, a subject line, warm birthday wishes from, I can't say that, maybe I shouldn't type that. Warm birthday wishes from Ron Deere. Another trip around the sun. Here's to a year filled with great wines, meals, conversations, and memories. Just, in reading some things Arthur wrote, it's, clearly togetherness, food, memories, sort of living life, important precepts to Arthur and Ellen. So tried to sort of match that tone. And then the email content is, again, relatively simple: a logo, a beautiful image, a headline, and a short personal message. I don't think there's a need to complicate it, but you can if you want. Happy birthday. Cheers to a year of adventure, enjoyment, and some great wine. All our best to you on this special day, Arthur and Ellen. Brands can offer birthday promotions, discounts, things like that, and you would use this promo code button here. Tara Jane, do you want me to do that, or? Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
So imagine that in this copy we wrote, just for you, 10% off your purchase today on your birthday. Maybe I would say something more than 10%, but who knows? Okay, so obviously this looks terrible. So let's change it. This is a great warning at the top. Verify that there are active codes in your store and your e-commerce session is up to date. Don't create a birthday promotion in your Mailchimp if it does not first exist in VinoShipper. And then you will be able to search by code. Ronjur does not have the code, I don't think, but you will be able to drag and drop here. You will be able to add an expiration date, and you can mention that in the email copy. Purchase wine anytime in your birthday month to enjoy X, or any time in your birthday week to enjoy Y. And then your button style, shop now, and then the address of your store. We will move over to style. You want to make sure that it matches the rest of your website. This shouldn't have a border. The promo code is gigantic. Maybe that's a little too small, but just right. Okay. And then in our settings, we can choose to sort of left justify it, right justify it, center it, and then update our content. But the promo code that you select here is what's going to populate here. And if you choose an expiration date, that will populate there as well.
You also could put in the text, if you didn't want to use the promo code block, you also could put in the text, like use promo code birthday 10 at checkout or something like that with a link to the store, and that would essentially have the same effect, right?
Yes, yeah, it would. But using this, when the customer clicks that button and they visit the VinoShipper site, that promo is preloaded, which is great that VinoShipper offers that, because the toggling back and forth between an email to remember a code is one potential point of friction in a customer journey. The other is if you don't have to enter that code until later and you get further steps down the path to purchase and there's no place to enter the code until the very end, some people don't make it to the very end. Now, the good news is they're going to get an abandoned cart email, but if they're already shopping with that promo code loaded in, it's just one less thing they have to do, and they see that discount as they move through the path to purchase. So if you do want to do that, I highly recommend this way. The other thing this does is it gives you a button, and customers, I mean, you can read about human psychology. We love to push the big red button, especially when we're told not to. So I love a button. Having people click on, hyperlinked text can be tricky. So I love a button. So use a button. And I'm going to take this out because we're not doing that in Arthur's email. I'm going to save and return to Journey, and I'm going to turn it back on.
And Nate, one quick question that came through. Is there a promo code block in the new builder?
Yes.
Good.
I said that I would show you one thing that that takes place in VinoShipper, and that is your order confirmation and your club sign-up confirmation. Now, this is an example where if you want to move beyond an automation and create a journey, you can, but you need to be aware that step one in the journey happens in VinoShipper, and that the subsequent emails you'll build will need to happen in Mailchimp. So you can create a journey in Mailchimp that says, let's call it a club welcome series or club onboarding series. You know that when they join your club, they're going to get this club order confirmation email, which is great, but pretty, let's call it standard. Okay. You may want to send more beautiful emails or remind them or talk to them about the perks and privileges of being a club member, and you want to do so in a branded, correct way. The rest of that you're going to want to do in Mailchimp. And so what you'll want to do is really think about, okay, somebody joined my club either here with me or online. I want to make sure they get that club confirmation email. And maybe I want to give myself a week to send them a personal email or to call them and say, thank you for joining the club. Or maybe you don't. And then maybe after a week, we want to send them a beautiful email that says, our club members always enjoy 15% savings and complimentary ground shipping or shipping included on all web orders. Or you may want to say, we've got a great, series of events this year, all for our club members. Click here to view our event schedule. You may want to send them 2 or 3 emails over the course of 45 days. You're going to do all of those emails in a Mailchimp journey. And so you want to make sure that what you're talking about is sort of evergreen. The links you're going to click are working. They're not going to be there and be there today, gone tomorrow. But it just allows you to tell a story, get them excited, feeling good. And, we know that club members leave if they don't feel like there's value. And if they only get wine a couple of times a year, they only may feel that value a couple of times a year. And email is a great way to remind them of the other values you bring them as a club member. I'm going to go back to the order confirmation email here and show you that even in something like this, even in something maybe not as graphically robust as Mailchimp, these transactional emails are so important. Transactional emails get opened way more than marketing emails at a much higher rate. And so even something like this, where it's hi, by our first name, and none of this stuff you can change because this is all really important information, but you can change this. And so thank you for your order is great. But I think if you're Arthur and Ellen, probably not enough. So even here's a great spot to just inject some personality, some authenticity, some brand voice into something as perfunctory as an order confirmation email. So we can say, thank you so much for your order. Rondier is a small, deeply personal endeavor, and it means so much to us that you welcome our wine into your home. If you have any questions, please don't reach out. I genuinely love to hear from you. We can make Arthur's email that, which, it already is great. There was a great recipe for roast chicken on the website that I'm going to make this week. So if you're looking for a pairing recommendation, you can't go wrong. Cheers, Arthur and Ellen. Now, Arthur and Ellen may want to scrap this because maybe most of their customers like to pick up the wine in person and they have a lot of repeat customers. And it's like, geez, Arthur, I've had Ellen's chicken, But if you have customers who are predominantly new to your brand, it's yes, it's a boring order confirmation email, but it's still a chance to market, and it's still a chance to suggest, and it's still a chance to sort of communicate who you are. So I'm going to say that.
I've
And
never thought about the idea that that order confirmations and transactional emails are opened at such a higher rate, but that makes so much sense. I haven't really considered that before, but that it seems obvious now that you say it, that we should be spending more time on these transactionals, because if that's what people are opening, that's kind of mind-blowing to me.
yes,
Really cool.
I think if you do a third or a fourth thing, or maybe it's one of those projects sort of as you have time, I think auditing the fact that there are so many great email templates in here, and based on your business, if you do have a club, if you don't have a club, if you're open card, if your allocation, Vino Shipper is going to arm you with a different set of transactional emails. But once you're set, I strongly urge you to go through and audit each one and sort of put yourself in the customer's shoes and say, okay, if I get this email, like, yes, it's information, but what else could I get? Is there a chance to, one of the rules I like is in a transactional email, is it easy for me to get a hold of somebody if something's wrong or I have a question or I need help? And yes, I can scroll to the bottom and see the footer, but wouldn't it be great if Arthur was like, hey, this is my cell? Or if your customer service representative said, hey, this is my direct extension in that email. So right at the top, if something's off, like even a shipment email, maybe they failed to go in and update their information. They get the shipment email and they're like, oh crap, we moved, or we're going to be on vacation. Wouldn't you like it if it was easier for them to get a hold of the person who could fix that for them?
Yeah.
So definitely audit your transactional emails, and Vino Shipper gives you lots of great ones, and it's very clear the parts that you can and can't change.
Mhm.
And Nate, we've got a couple questions regarding that journey and those automated emails. The first is coming for a request for an elaboration on where the journey starts in Mailchimp if the trigger is the automated email from VinoShipper.
So that's a great question. Let's one thing that Ron Deere Wines does not have that I specified is an email capture that says join our mailing list. But let's say there's let's do a club onboarding. So we'll get out of here and we will dismiss all of this again. Build from scratch. Let's call this club onboarding. I'm going to choose contact activity. And Tara Jane, remind me,
Group. So the clubs are all groups.
it is groups. So
Yeah.
joins, audience, group. That's right. Clubs are groups. And then is the sort of first umbrella of club a tag? And then under the tag of club member, there are maybe a 12 bottle group and a 6
I think
bottle
it's
group.
the opposite. I think it's group and then the subgroup or maybe it's a tag is which club you're in. So you
Okay.
can select whether you're sending just one email and you want to select your audience as just only the say 12 bottle club, or you want to select all of your club. You can tier that down and VinoShipper pushes that information over.
Great. That is so helpful to know. So you can gosh, that's great because it means you can get super granular. You can start with group, and then in your journey, you can add tags and you can start to have little forks and tributaries so that your information is really highly segmented so that if a 12 bottle club member enjoys appreciably more privileges than a 6 bottle club member, you can communicate that to them in specific language rather than sort of all sorts of perks and privileges, kind of boilerplate language. So for club onboarding, I'd say let's start with group and then we can do tags. Or we could have named this 12 bottle club onboarding and actually you use your tag as a starting point. So wherever we start, joins audience group or tag. So let's do club. Oh yeah, this is great. Ron Deere founders, and I'm not
like in this example, we also have past clubs, and that's people who were in the club and have left the club, so that you also could have an automation re-engaging club members that have left and saying like, even look, you even got the fireworks, you're so happy about it. But you can re-engage those people and say like, hey, we know you left the club, but here we'd like to extend your membership anyway, your discount for right now, or whatever you wanted to say, come back to us.
Yeah. A win back. That makes it really easy to win people back. That is powerful. That is powerful. Okay,
And
so
Nate, there's a sub question tucked into that for re-engagement, which I think is pretty interesting regarding club members who've opted out of company emails but are still club members. So we can't email them through Mailchimp now. So, maybe that's a phone call, maybe that's a customer engagement piece where you take it, outside and look to engage with them. But what thoughts?
I've found a lot of times, and Nat, you should also answer this, but I've found in running wine clubs that a lot of times when people unsubscribe, they didn't mean to. And so reaching out to them and saying like, hey, personally, I noticed that you unsubscribed. Did you mean to do that? And if you didn't, I can send you the link. You as the administrator can't resubscribe somebody, but you can send them a link that lets them resubscribe themselves. They can still get transactional emails, but they wouldn't get any marketing emails. So I would personally reach out to them and say, did you mean to do that? Because you'll be missing all of this information,
in terms of that was said beautifully, perfectly. I wouldn't add a thing except to say that just as part of club management and list hygiene, it's important to be vigilant of that on some sort of regular cadence so that you can take those actions you just described. Because people getting their card charged and sort of being caught unawares, or not being there and wine showing up and you missed a delivery and you just sort of get anxious and frustrated. You can really avoid that. So the journey here is, we can pull over a time delay. Let's say they get their club confirmation email from VinoShipper, and then maybe a week later or 11 days later, we want to send them a second email, and then we'll click our email, and then we'll go into that email design process. So that is how you would create your club onboarding journey, or maybe just a one email automation that is considered a journey because it starts in VinoShipper and sort of concludes.
And I would encourage people to get creative, because you can set all of these different bifurcated behaviors on these journeys. So like if somebody is for example, a new member journey, and you can set a trigger that says like they didn't open this email, and so now they're going to get this other email, or they did open the email but they didn't click, and so now they're going to get a different email, or they did open the email and they clicked but they didn't buy anything, so then they're going to go to this. And then maybe they did open the email, they clicked, they bought something. Now you don't need to send the rest of if you have a series of say 7 emails, you don't need to send the rest of them because they've bought. And so now they would be taken out of that series and moved into a different situation. So when you're designing these journeys, there's a lot of logic as far as if this, then this. But if you're creative and you just, think through these patterns of what behaviors, like you said, Nat, what behaviors you're trying to have take place in each email, and then if that occurs, what happens then? I think if you think through these, and you can design some really cool customer journeys for people that make people feel like you're paying attention to them, because you are paying attention to their behavior, right?
Yes. Yeah. What you would do is add these rules, an if else, or a split path here, and then Mailchimp gives you this way to define that path. Is it from a tag that you're applying in VinoShipper? Is it from your groups? Is it from some sort of contact detail? Is it from an acquisition source? Or is it email interaction? They did or did not open, or they did open and did not click. And then it's like, if that's the case, then do send them this email, or if that's the case, don't send them that email. So that's how you use the different forks in the road here, or how you create forks in the road.
I'm so excited that people that have small businesses have access to a tool like this, because this is the kind of technology that big companies use. Like you said, you get the Levi's come back to us, like the J. Crew pants. So, this is what big companies are able to do. And for a small company to be able to have access to these kinds of automations that can be so revenue generating and connection building, I think if we're not doing it, like you said, at least do the abandoned cart email, do the birthday email, set up some of these and see what happens. And I think what you'll find is that they're really a very effective way to drive revenue for your business without a lot of effort on your part after you set them up.
Here, here. Here,
How
here.
often do you suggest like updating, like say you set a journey, how often do you feel like you should revisit those? So it doesn't make sense to like do it only once a year, right? Like how often do you think people should check in on those?
I think that if nothing about your business changes appreciably, that you can go 6 months and then look at that data, and just it's good to twice yearly. You're gonna end up doing it more frequently, but it's good twice yearly to just sort of eyeball your welcome journey, or look at your abandoned cart statistics. Maybe you do an abandoned cart, and it fires off 200 emails in the first 3 months and you only recover 1 cart. Well, is your wine really expensive? Do people pay for shipping? Or is it maybe should I include the price, not include the price? Should I change my messaging? Should I, add in a picture, take out a picture? So, there's you'll know if it's something you might like to tweak. But the flip side to that is, if you open a new or different tasting room location, or if you change from an open cart model to an allocation model, or if something, really significant changes, that necessitates that you probably pause a lot of your marketing journeys because they are built around the specific objectives of your previous incarnation. So if it's business as usual and you're sort of steadily growing, then I think you can go 6 months and eyeball it. And yeah, I think as it's just fun to tinker. Or it's fun for me. It may not be fun for everyone on here, but it's just fun to tinker and think like, oh, I thought this email would sell more wine, this third email, but it's actually the first one. Like, I wonder why that is, or I wonder if I could, I don't know, do something else. I think post-purchase emails in wine are interesting just because shipping wine is so temperature dependent. So if you set up some sort of post-purchase flow or journey or automation,
Well,
and
that's a good point.
somebody buys wine in July, they may not get the wine until October
Right.
because they live in Texas or Arizona. And so if you send them an email 30 days later, how'd you like that Pinot? Well, I don't have it yet. So really do think through the kind of real world implications of that.
That's an excellent point.
Yeah, flip side is it's January and somebody in Arizona orders wine, you can ship it right away. You don't want to miss your time. So maybe instead of do you want to buy more wine, you start with, here's how we like to serve our wine. This is a great serving temperature. This is our favorite glass. Here's the food we like to serve with our. Maybe it's, softer, more value added things that just remind the customer that you care not only about them buying wine, but enjoying and getting the most out of your wine, that you're attentive, that you're present. And maybe that in itself leads them to come back for a return purchase rather than an explicit, come buy more wine now with a big button.
Yeah. Yeah. Do we have any questions lingering out there, Paul?
Right on top of that, Rose, we've got sorry, that was a old movie reference. Yes, we have a couple coming through. One for importing of email addresses from Square, which is done through the Mailchimp integration. But one that I thought was pretty interesting was the automation between Commerce 7, VinoShipper, Mailchimp, and how that world connects.
Yeah, if you're using VinoShipper with Commerce 7, most of your contacts probably are in Commerce 7, so I would recommend having the Mailchimp auto integration through Commerce 7 rather than the VinoShipper one. I will do the plug that the VinoShipper one is free, and you do have to pay for the
Digimatic API, yeah.
Exactly. But I would do it through Commerce 7 because that's probably your primary CRM. So I would do it from there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's called Digimatic. The API integration is called Digimatic, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And they charge a monthly fee for the connection, and it feeds in, I think, the same information that the VinoShipper integration feeds in. Yeah. Any other questions in there? What do you got, Paul? Nothing? A quiet group? This is very uncommon.
No, very active group. We're just able to answer some of these as they come in. There is one question that is regarding first-time engagement. So Daniel had asked that he's been working in email for the last decade and working in wine for the first time. I know that most other industries welcome email, does about 50% of the email's programs revenue. Do we find this to be true in the wine world as well? And what data sets we have on client engagement, client revenue generation through email. Nat, I don't know if you ever run any data sets on that to see what purchase and revenue is generated at different moments of the client's journey.
An email like relative to other marketing channels.
Or different, I think the question is specific to where the revenue may be generated from in that email journey. Is it just the welcome email? Is it abandoned carts? Is it, client engagement things and tools?
Yeah, and so I will talk a little bit about, I guess I should talk about this in the context of welcome journeys. This is a conversation Tara Jane and I had. I've created a lot of welcome journeys for a lot of different wineries, and different wineries sell wine differently. So a winery that has an open cart website, that has a tasting room, that has a club, they have in kind of button language or in behavior trigger, they have a buy now goal, a visit us goal, and a join goal. And for some of those wineries, buy now might be the most important business objective. And for another similarly situated winery, visit us might be the most important business objective. They really feel like visitation drives both sales and club signups. So we want to focus on visitation. So I'm going to create their welcome sequence prioritizing that specific business objective first, even if, the person signing up for the list is far away from the Willamette Valley, because all the other marketing efforts that winery is going to take are going to be geared around that. So there's no reason a first party channel like email shouldn't be in support of that. A different winery that maybe sells allocation only, never has an open cart, and doesn't receive people, officially doesn't receive people. Maybe you can get in if you know someone or something like that. At that point, it's more like, let's do like a personal message from the founder. Let's show some social proof with quotes from collectors. Let's dig into what makes this winery different. I think if you build a journey to accomplish the specific business objective, more often than not, you're going to see the revenue or you're going to see the results you expect relative to the architecture you've created. I do think journeys that I've set up that have multiple occasions to buy, I do continue to be sort of surprised by how much people buy on the first email, but I still see people buying and joining on emails 3 and 4, which tells me that they have value, and that just some people's decision processes are their decision horizons are longer, or they just need more information to feel good about making a purchase.
Fascinating.
I don't know if that was responsive to the question, Paul.
It's interesting.
Yeah,
At
I
least.
believe so.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have a couple others, is there a way on VinoShipper to automate? Sorry, I thought I lost us. Is there a way on VinoShipper to see who's opening the automatic emails in verse email templates like on VinoShipper, unopened emails in the VinoShipper platform itself, I believe is the question.
No, we don't. For the transactionals, there's not a way to see if they're opened or not, but you can see that they were sent if you go to a customer profile and select, there's a tab for emails, and you can see all the emails that a customer has been sent through VinoShipper. Yeah, on a case by case or client by client view, which is nice to see as well. We do have a request for plans for VinoShipper to update the flexibility and visual email appeal of VS transactional email, which I know isn't the first time we've heard that. That is not the first time we've heard that, and that is on the docket. I don't have a I don't have a date. It will probably it is on the roadmap. We do know that people want more customization and flexibility in those transactional emails. The information that's in them will remain, but we will be adding more flexibility at some point.
Yeah.
But there's a
then
lot you can do.
No,
There's a
people
lot
want
you
it.
can do with what's there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and then the other would be just tips and tricks for being able to add members manually, on a paper sign up or written sign up forms, kind of best practice, best way to organize these in tags and groups, etc. Of Nat, Tara, what you've seen in your travels in the wine space.
If you're manually adding, I mean, you could always, if it's somebody that, is visiting the winery and is right in front of you, or you're collecting emails at an event, as you're adding them into Mail, I would add them in that case, I would add them directly into Mailchimp, and I would tag them with like event in Palm Springs, Catalina wine mixer, whatever. Tag them with that so that then you can, you can either then build a series of groups that have a bunch of different events, or just, only send an email to the people that were at that event when you're going to come to it next year, maybe. But that's what I would do. There's not like both Mailchimp and VinoShipper, you can do bulk uploads of people. So if at some point you have, 50 emails that you need to import, you can do it through VinoShipper. But like I said, if you want to upload with the tags, I would upload directly into Mailchimp. And it's really easy to upload a CSV file into Mailchimp with the tags or any other information that you have about the person.
And in terms of those early emails, one thing that a winery would like to have before they get a purchase, but a winery gets when they get a purchase, is all the other account information. So, I mean, I have done welcome sequences where the first call to action, the first button is not buy or visit or join, it's set up my account, so that they go in and put in their shipping address, their billing address, their birthday. That's really valuable for you, the winery, from a marketing standpoint. It's valuable for them because when you do a release or an offer, all their stuff's in there. It's going to be easier for them to click through, and you can market against that information. So if somebody's at an event and they have 25 email addresses on a piece of paper, knowing that there's a welcome sequence where the person at the event doesn't have to ask everyone their first and last name and their billing address, and they don't have to write those down. There's a way for them to do that digitally later. That's a great first call to action through email is set up your account or create your account profile or customize my profile, whatever language you want to use.
Yeah. And a humble plug for the VinoShipper point of sale is being able to scan someone's ID, which is always helpful to be able to gather all of their pertinent information, assuming that they haven't moved and not gotten a new ID. But it's a really easy way to inbound all of that pertinent data. So,
Absolutely.
and then I believe one last question. I'm sorry if I've already covered this, but for Wine Club, Maria had a question. For Wine Club, we send pickup reminders for those who have not picked up by certain dates. Is it possible to automate these emails based on who is marked as pickup? Which is pretty interesting.
No, I don't think that's a great question. I don't think that is a data point that flows over to Mailchimp. I think what you could do, well, it wouldn't be automated. No, I don't think that's a data point that flows over. And you can, in VinoShipper, you can send a transactional, like, your pickup order is ready email, but you would have to initiate the email. And in Mail, that's having an open order is not a data point that's pushed into Mailchimp. Right. Yeah, that's a good question though.
Yeah. I do like the idea of a separate journey in that, in that respect, to make sure that people are aware of that. And then, it also prompts someone to say, hey, if you haven't picked up your club, we're going to be shipping this to you, and be able to set the stage for them to be able to receive that. I know, personally, I wasn't able to make a wine club shipment pickup and got notified multiple times that the order is on its way, which I like that setting the stage of as well, just to make sure that delivery times are set and delivery dates are tracking. All that fun stuff is sent through.
Absolutely. Anything else? I know we've gone over time a little bit, but that's all right. This has been such an interesting one. Any other questions, Paul, coming in?
Let's see. Some confirmations that we do this shipping club after 90 days. They've sent send manual emails to accomplish this. Automation would be great of that. So feature requests that we always love to hear. And one of the things that we love as part of the crush courses is to kind of get a large group of our clients together to be able to find out what's important. So being able to put in those feature requests, but I believe that may call it, last call for questions, I suppose, fire away.
I do want to also plug Nat and and his business Wordshop. For anybody that is on here, I will definitely be sending out his contact information, and I would encourage you to reach out. Nat, do you want to do a self plug? Like on Hot Ones when they do this camera, this camera, this camera, tell the people what you're working with.
I mean, I love to teach. I love to help people send better emails, and usually sending better emails helps people sell more wine, and that helps people sleep at night. So that's the whole ball game.
I'm so grateful that you could be here with us. Thank you for taking the
Thank
time.
you.
I hope we can have you back one day. You are just such a breath of interesting fresh air. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And VinoShipper clients, thank you for joining us. All of our partners, we're so grateful for you also. And stay tuned for our next crush course next month is going to be about Vinove, which is these small bottles that you can send samples out, and it's another great way to market to your customers. And it'll be also a really cool presentation and something that a partnership that we're really excited about. So stay tuned for that. And thanks everybody. I really appreciate everybody. Thank you.
Yeah. Have a great day all.
Thanks everybody.